When billionaire heir Sebastian's family forced his pregnant ex-girlfriend to perform at his wedding for money she desperately needed, they thought they were humiliating her. But when she stepped up to that microphone and revealed the truth about her baby's father, their perfect day became their worst nightmare. Before we dive into this shocking story of revenge and justice, make sure to hit that like button if you love stories where karma comes full circle. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible tales you won't believe actually happened. My name is Jasmine, and 6 months ago, I was living what felt like the worst chapter of my life. Picture this: a cramped studio apartment where the heating barely worked, bills piling up on my kitchen counter that doubled as my dining table, and a pregnancy test sitting on my bathroom sink showing 2 pink lines that changed everything. I've always been a singer. It's not just what I do, it's who I am. Ever since I was little, music was my escape, my passion, my gift. I'd performed at small venues around the city, wedding receptions, corporate events, anywhere that would pay me enough to keep the lights on. But being a Black woman trying to make it in the music industry isn't easy, and being pregnant made everything 10 times harder. The morning sickness hit me like a freight train. I'd be in the middle of a performance and have to rush off stage. Gigs started drying up because nobody wants to book a singer who might not show up or might get sick halfway through their set. My main steady job at an upscale restaurant disappeared when I couldn't hide my condition anymore. Suddenly, I was staring at medical bills I couldn't afford, rent I couldn't pay, and a future that terrified me. But here's the thing about my story that makes it so complicated. The father of my baby wasn't just some random guy. His name was Sebastian Whitmore, heir to one of the wealthiest families in the state. Yeah, you heard that right. The Whitmores owned everything from real estate empires to tech companies, the kind of family whose name was on hospital wings and university buildings. For 2 years, Sebastian and I had something I thought was real. We met at a charity gala where I was performing, and he was immediately drawn to my voice, my spirit, the way I could command a room. He'd sneak away from his family's events to hear me sing at little jazz clubs downtown. We'd spend hours talking about music, about dreams, about building something meaningful together. But Sebastian's family, they made it crystal clear from day one that I wasn't welcome in their world. His mother, Catherine Whitmore, looked at me like I was something she'd stepped in. Family dinners were exercises in subtle racism and classism, comments about my background, and questions about whether I was really right for Sebastian. They never said it outright, but the message was clear: you don't belong here. The breaking point came when I told Sebastian about the pregnancy. I expected shock, maybe fear, but what I got was worse: silence. He sat in his luxury car outside my apartment building for what felt like forever before finally speaking. He said his family would never accept this, that there were expectations he had to meet, that maybe it would be better for everyone if we took some time apart. Within a week, Sebastian was engaged to Victoria Ashford, a blonde socialite whose family tree was apparently acceptable to the Whitmores. The engagement announcement was in every society page, complete with photos of their perfect, wealthy, white happiness. Meanwhile, I was throwing up every morning and wondering how I was going to afford prenatal vitamins. That's when the real desperation set in. I applied for jobs everywhere: retail, waitressing, anything that would take me. But my growing belly made interviews awkward, and my reputation as a performer didn't exactly scream reliable employee to potential employers. I sold my grandmother's jewelry, my guitar, everything I could part with just to make rent. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, carrying the child of one of the wealthiest men in the city, and I was choosing between groceries and electricity. Sebastian had moved on like our 2 years together meant nothing, like the life growing inside me didn't exist. His family had gotten exactly what they wanted: me out of the picture, their son safely paired with someone from their social circle. But sometimes life has a funny way of bringing things full circle. Sometimes the universe sets up moments so perfect, so poetic that you almost have to believe in fate. And that moment was coming for me, even though I had no idea it was already being orchestrated by the very people who wanted to see me disappear forever. Little did I know, Catherine Whitmore was about to make the biggest mistake of her privileged life. 3 weeks before Sebastian's wedding, my phone rang at 7 in the morning. I almost didn't answer because I didn't recognize the number, but desperation makes you pick up every call, hoping it's a job opportunity, or at least someone who isn't a debt collector. "Is this Jasmine Carter?" The voice was crisp, cold, unmistakably upper class. I knew immediately who it was. Catherine Whitmore, Sebastian's mother. My blood went cold. "Yes, this is Jasmine. I have a proposition for you. No greeting, no pleasantries, just straight to business. My son is getting married in 3 weeks, and we need entertainment for the reception. I'm prepared to offer you $10,000 to perform." $10,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. That was more money than I'd seen in months. Enough to pay my medical bills, catch up on rent, maybe even buy some baby furniture. But I wasn't naive. Catherine Whitmore wasn't calling me out of generosity. "Why me?" I asked, my voice barely steady. Her laugh was like ice cracking. "Let's not pretend this is about your talent, dear. This is about closure. Sebastian is moving on with his life, marrying a wonderful woman from a good family. I thought you might appreciate the opportunity to see how well he's doing, and perhaps gain some perspective on your own situation." The words stung because I understood exactly what she was really saying. This wasn't a job offer, it was a power play. She wanted me to watch Sebastian marry someone else, to stand there and sing love songs while my heart broke, to be reminded of exactly how little I meant to their family. She was offering to pay me to humiliate myself, but $10,000 was $10,000, and my baby needed me to swallow my pride. "What would you want me to sing?" I asked quietly. "Oh, I have a very specific list. Romantic ballads, love songs about forever and destiny. I'm sure you understand the theme." Her voice dripped with satisfaction. She was enjoying this. The day of the wedding arrived like a storm I couldn't avoid. The Whitmore estate was even more intimidating than I remembered. Rolling lawns, a mansion that looked like something from a movie, luxury cars parked in perfect rows. I drove my beat-up Honda through the gates, feeling like I was entering enemy territory. They made me park in the service area and enter through the back. The message was clear: you're not a guest, you're the help. The wedding planner, a thin woman with sharp eyes, handed me a schedule and pointed toward a small room where I could prepare. "You'll perform during dinner," she said, looking me up and down with obvious disdain. "Mrs. Whitmore has selected your songs. Don't deviate from the list." Walking through the estate to set up, I heard the whispers. Guests were already arriving, and the comments followed me like shadows. "Who's the pregnant singer? Why would they hire someone in her condition? How unprofessional." Each word was a small knife, cutting deeper than the last. The worst part was seeing Sebastian. He was greeting guests with Victoria by his side, both of them glowing with happiness and privilege. When our eyes met across the garden, he looked away immediately, like I was a ghost from a past he'd rather forget. No acknowledgement, no nod, nothing. I was invisible to him now. Catherine Whitmore approached me as I was setting up my microphone. She looked stunning in her designer mother-of-the-groom dress, every inch the society matriarch. "I trust you understand the songs I've chosen," she said, handing me the final list. Every single song was about eternal love, about soulmates, about finding your perfect match. She'd picked the most romantic, heart-wrenching ballads she could find. "This is quite the playlist," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "I thought you'd appreciate the irony," she replied with a cold smile. "After all, you'll be singing about the kind of love my son has found with his bride. The kind of love that lasts forever." Standing there, 7 months pregnant with her son's child, being paid to sing about his love for another woman, I felt the full weight of their cruelty. But something inside me was shifting, hardening into something stronger than hurt. They thought they were humiliating me, but they were actually giving me the perfect stage for the truth. The moment had arrived. 200 of the wealthiest, most influential people in the city sat before me, crystal glasses gleaming under the chandeliers, their conversations a low hum of privilege and satisfaction. Sebastian and Victoria were at the head table, looking like they'd stepped out of a fairy tale. Him in his perfectly tailored tuxedo, her in a dress that probably cost more than my yearly rent. I stood at the microphone, my hands resting on my growing belly, and felt something shift inside me. For months, I'd been carrying shame, desperation, the weight of being discarded and forgotten. But standing there, looking at Sebastian's face as he deliberately avoided my eyes, something crystallized. "Good evening, everyone," I began, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "I'm here tonight to perform some beautiful songs about love. But before I begin, I'd like to dedicate this performance to someone very special in this room." The crowd settled, wine glasses paused halfway to lips. Catherine Whitmore smiled smugly from her table, probably thinking I was about to embarrass myself with some pathetic tribute to Sebastian and Victoria's love. Instead of starting the first song on her cruel playlist, I looked directly at Sebastian. 6 months ago, I discovered I was carrying a child. The father of this baby is someone who taught me that love isn't always enough, that sometimes people choose comfort over courage, status over substance. You could hear a pin drop. Sebastian's face had gone completely white. Victoria's fork clattered against her plate. "The father of my child," I continued, my voice growing stronger with each word, "is sitting right here in this room tonight. In fact, he's sitting at the head table." Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave. I watched as heads turned, as the pieces clicked into place, as 200 privileged faces registered the magnitude of what I was saying. Sebastian started to stand, but I wasn't finished. "Sebastian Whitmore," I said his name clearly, letting it hang in the air. "When I told you about our baby, you chose to disappear. When your family offered me money to stay quiet, I chose to survive. But tonight, I'm choosing something different. I'm choosing truth." Victoria's face had gone from pale to green. She was staring at Sebastian with a look of pure betrayal, her perfect wedding day crumbling in real time. Sebastian finally found his voice. "Jasmine, this isn't the place." "No," I cut him off, my voice carrying clearly through the microphone. "This is exactly the place. Your mother paid me $10,000 to come here tonight and sing love songs while you married another woman. She thought she was humiliating me, showing me my place. But instead, she gave me the perfect audience to ensure my child knows exactly who their father is." The crowd erupted, whispers became shouts, shocked exclamations filled the air. I saw Catherine Whitmore's face transform from smug satisfaction to pure horror as she realized what her cruel plan had accomplished. "For 2 years, your family made it clear I wasn't good enough for your world," I continued, looking around the room at faces I recognized from society pages and business magazines. They questioned my background, my worth, my place in Sebastian's life. But this baby doesn't care about any of that. This baby is a Whitmore, whether you like it or not. Victoria suddenly stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "You knew," she screamed at Sebastian. "You knew she was pregnant, and you proposed to me anyway." The beautiful, composed socialite was gone, replaced by a woman whose world was collapsing. Sebastian reached for her, but she jerked away like his touch burned her. "Victoria, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" Victoria's voice cracked with emotion. "That you got another woman pregnant while we were dating. That you've been lying to me for months. That this whole engagement is a sham." She yanked off her engagement ring, a rock that probably cost more than most people's houses, and threw it at Sebastian's feet. The sound of it hitting the marble floor was like a gunshot in the stunned silence. "I won't be part of this charade," Victoria declared, her voice carrying across the room. "I won't marry a man who abandons pregnant women and lies about it." She stormed out, her wedding dress trailing behind her like a symbol of everything Sebastian had just lost. The crowd watched in stunned fascination as the perfect wedding became a public disaster. I stood at that microphone, 7 months pregnant, and finally free. The aftermath was immediate and devastating. Victoria's exit had opened the floodgates, and what followed was like watching a perfectly constructed house of cards collapse in slow motion. The Whitmore family's carefully curated image was disintegrating in real time, and I had a front row seat to watch it all unfold. Sebastian's father, Richard Whitmore, stood up from his table, his face purple with rage and embarrassment. "This is a private family matter," he announced to the crowd, his voice shaking with barely controlled fury. But it was too late. You can't put the truth back in the bottle once it's been poured out. Guests were already pulling out their phones. In the age of social media, scandal travels at the speed of light, and this was the kind of story that would dominate headlines for weeks. The heir to a billion-dollar empire, caught lying about abandoning his pregnant ex-girlfriend at his own wedding. It was tabloid gold. I watched as Sebastian's business associates began to distance themselves physically and socially. Conversations stopped when he approached tables. Handshakes became awkward. These people understood the power of public perception, and Sebastian had just become toxic to their carefully maintained reputations. But the most beautiful part of the evening was still to come. As the crowd buzzed with shock and gossip, something unexpected happened. People started approaching me, not with judgment or pity, but with respect and support. Margaret Chen, a prominent businesswoman whose company had been featured on magazine covers, was the first. She walked over while I was packing up my microphone, her face kind but determined. "That took incredible courage," she said quietly. "I've been where you are, not exactly, but close enough to understand. Here's my card. Call me Monday. I think we can find you some opportunities that don't involve humiliation." Then came David Rodriguez, a talent agent I'd heard of, but never dreamed I'd meet. "I've been watching you perform for years at smaller venues," he said. "Your voice is extraordinary, but what you just did up there, that's the kind of authenticity that sells records. We need to talk." One by one they came. A record producer who'd been sitting at the back, a wedding planner who said she'd been looking for a singer with real emotional depth, a local business owner who offered me a residency at his upscale restaurant. By the time I left that evening, I had more legitimate opportunities than I'd had in months. The real justice, though, came in the days that followed. The story exploded across social media and news outlets. Billionaire heir's wedding scandal. Pregnant singer's shocking revelation. The speech that ended an engagement. My phone rang constantly with interview requests, but I kept my responses simple and dignified. I was a single mother who'd been abandoned, and I'd simply told the truth. Victoria's family, the Ashfords, were not pleased. Their daughter had been publicly humiliated, and they blamed Sebastian entirely. The business merger that the marriage was supposed to facilitate, dead. The real estate deals that depended on their partnership, canceled. The social connections that had taken the Whitmores decades to build, severely damaged. Catherine Whitmore's precious social standing crumbled like a sandcastle at high tide. The woman who'd orchestrated my humiliation found herself suddenly unwelcome at the charity galas and society events that had defined her identity. Her friends stopped calling. Her committees quietly asked her to step down. The most satisfying moment came 3 weeks later when Sebastian finally called me. His voice was different, smaller, defeated. "Jasmine, we need to talk about the baby." "Now you want to talk?" I asked, but without the anger I'd carried for months. Success and security had replaced my desperation, and with it came a strange kind of peace. "I was wrong," he said simply. "I was a coward, and I'm sorry. What do you need? What can I do?" By then, I didn't need his money or his family's approval. The opportunities that had come from that one night of truth-telling had changed everything. I had a recording contract regular gigs, and most importantly, my dignity intact. What I need, I told him, is for you to be the father our child deserves. Not because you have to, but because you want to. The universe had given me something better than revenge. It had given me the chance to rebuild my life on my own terms, with the truth as my foundation. Sometimes the best justice isn't getting even, it's getting free. And that's how one moment of courage changed everything. Standing on that stage, 7 months pregnant, and facing down the people who thought they could buy my silence, I learned something powerful about the truth. It doesn't just set you free, it has a way of rearranging the entire world around you. 6 months later, my life looks completely different. My daughter was born healthy and beautiful, and yes, Sebastian stepped up, not because he had to, but because watching his world fall apart that night made him realize what really mattered. We're not together, we never could be after everything that happened, but he's a good father, and that's all I ever wanted for her. The recording contract led to my first album, which debuted at number 15 on the charts. Margaret Chen became not just a business mentor, but a genuine friend. The restaurant residency turned into a regular Friday night slot that sells out weeks in advance. I bought a house, a real house with a backyard, where my daughter can play, where the heating works, where the bills get paid on time. But you know what the most incredible part is? Catherine Whitmore, the woman who orchestrated that night, thinking she was putting me in my place, actually gave me the greatest gift of my life. She handed me a microphone and an audience of the most influential people in the city, thinking I'd humiliate myself. Instead, she gave me the platform to reclaim my power. That's the thing about karma. It doesn't always look like what you expect. Sometimes it's not about the other person getting punished. Sometimes it's about you getting lifted up so high that their opinion of you becomes irrelevant. If you're going through something right now, if someone is trying to make you feel small or worthless, remember this story. Remember that truth is the most powerful weapon you have, and the right moment to use it will come. Sometimes the people trying to hurt you end up being the very ones who create your opportunity to shine. What did you think of this incredible turn of events? Have you ever had a moment where standing up for yourself changed everything? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and your stories inspire me more than you know. If this story reminded you why honesty and courage matter, hit that like button and let me know it resonated with you. And listen, if you're new here and you love stories about real people overcoming impossible odds, about karma working in the most unexpected ways, you absolutely need to subscribe right now. Turn on those notifications because I share stories like this every week. Tales of people who refused to stay down, who found their voice when it mattered most. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Until then, remember, your truth is your power, and the right moment to use it is always closer than you think.